Hello, hello, everybody out there, and welcome back. This is episode 105 of the OES Global podcast.
Is it 105? Really?
105.
Wow.
Today, what we're doing is we're rounding out the family of brands that OES Global manages with the last one, drum roll, Absorbents for Less. If you couldn't tell by all of the products that we have here today that we're going to be kind of going into a little bit more detail for you all. I bet there's probably a wide majority of people out there that might not have ever seen an absorbent product before, and I guarantee that they don't know the difference between any of them other than the fact that they probably absorb something. But anyway, thank you all for joining. Like I said, we're going to dive in. We've talked about all of the other companies. If you haven't watched those videos, click through the channel. You can go watch those. OES Global, Traffic Cones for Less, Hydration Depot, ST2K Valet, and now Absorbents for Less. So absorbents, they show up on typically the worst day that someone might be having. When there's a spill, when there's a leak, when a drum tips over, or when some chemicals fall out. Nobody really thinks about these products until it's an immediate need and they have to go clean something up that might have spilled. So for everyone hearing the name for the first time, Absorbents for Less, and then maybe these products even, what does Absorbents for Less actually do and who do they serve?
Well, Jake, that's a great question. Okay, you're always, full of such great questions. So, well, the answer is that, we like to think of absorbents as a product, like a fire extinguisher in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to wait until you have a fire to go buy a fire extinguisher.
Sure don't.
Right? Probably pretty bad. So it's something you always want to have on the ready, available, because you, like Jake said, you never know when you're going to need them, and you certainly don't want to have to try to cobble something together depending on what it is and, absorb it if it's some kind of chemical or some kind of chemical on water and you need to, just absorb the chemical, not all the water. So a lot of this stuff is meant to, solve a variety of different problems. We'll go through some samples of some of the things that we have specific for specific things. But to answer your original question, Absorbents for Less, like the name says, is our job and putting up that site and creating this line is to sell absorbents for less. And the way that we sell absorbents for less is, as you know, we really do like to pass along those savings to our customers by encouraging people and creating things so that people can buy in bulk. And in bulk, this is actually extremely important with this product because a lot of these products are very, very bulky, very lightweight, kind of difficult to ship. So if we can put together packages and bundles, offer free shipping, it's not something that you want to wait around to order when you need it anyway. So having some extra on hand or a couple of pallets of this stuff, especially if you're a big facility, is really an awesome thing. So like the name says, Absorbents for Less is a company founded to provide absorbent products, spill, booms, socks, pads. We all have some chemical absorbing products as well that we have on our site. We're not going to go over those today, but to sell them for less to our customers and save them some money. So that's what it's all about.
I'm noticing a bit of a theme here with all of the businesses that we're mentioning under the OES Global umbrella with bulk. For Absorbents for Less specifically, I know you touched on it a little bit, but how does the company-wide strategy of passing along the savings throughout all of the companies, and then maybe how they even interconnect with like absorbents could potentially be in the same vein as like Traffic Cones or even Hydration Depot? There's a lot of manufacturing facilities out there where it's very, very hot, and if they're doing anything with liquids or anything with hazardous materials like acids or bases, these two products might go hand in hand.
True. I mean, I will say that a lot of our brands and the way they came together is not necessarily wasn't a natural process. They came for a variety of different ways or opportunities that were presented to us, for our clients needing certain things. So, organically, maybe Traffic Cones in these products or hydration in these products don't go together, but they certainly, just by the nature of the customers that we service and the the types of clients that we provide those products to, certainly many of these things fit into that. And it's just it's something people don't think about. It's something that is not necessarily the most glamorous or sexy kind of product, but it's necessary. I mean, it can save lives. I mean, if there's spills on the ground and there's hydraulic fluid and, and people step in that and it's slippery, or, certainly environmental applications where there's an oil spill or some kind of chemical spill on water. You have products that are oil only that don't absorb the water, making them available at the ready for a variety of different functions is kind of what we do. And there's definitely a whole sort of synergy to all the different brands, which is really, at the end of the day, protecting people on property.
There it is. And that is one of the big umbrellas that all of our brands kind of fall underneath. And for those of you that don't know, Absorbents for Less has been around for a little bit, but we just recently really dug into the products. We really were invested to try and making all of the offerings and all of the bundles really, really great for the customer, removing pain points, passing along those savings. Tell them a little bit about why Absorbents is now Absorbents for even less.
Well, this is true. I mean, because originally we put up a lot of products, not necessarily subscribing to our, a whole bunch of purchasing or buying a lot in volume to save money. So it wasn't necessarily the way a lot of things were constructed at the time, but we took a kind of deep dive and said, our real core value as a company is sharing any kind of savings we can offer to customers with them, so that educating people, creating packages that made sense, creating I'm not going to say even larger quantities, just the right kind of quantities to make sure that those savings were available to the end users was very, very, very important. So we actually spent time going back and making sure that that was available and consistent through the site. So it's really important to make Absorbents for Less even more for less.
Exactly.
Less.
Exactly.
Even lesser. Yes.
Before we get into kind of talking a little bit more about the specific products and what they actually are best used for, I think the people out there would really love to know, what's one of the biggest spills that's ever happened in your life? And were you prepared for it? Maybe not having bulk industrial absorbents, but did you have all the things at the ready when this cataclysmic spill happened?
Wow. Okay. Well, I have to tell you, fortunately for me, I personally have not been involved in cataclysmic spills. I don't know about you. Have you?
I mean, I think the baddest spill that I had was maybe spilling an entire gallon of milk on my parents' kitchen floor, which took up an entire 2 rolls of paper towels.
I was going to say, did you use a lot of paper towels
Exactly.
for that? Yeah, right. Yeah, that's probably a good solution for that kind of product. I will say, thankfully, I have not personally been involved in cataclysmic spills, but we have actually use them here, even in our facility. I mean, we don't actually have a tremendous amount of things that can potentially spill, but we do have forklifts and we have other equipment, and we have had, as I said, hydraulic leaks. So I personally know that hydraulic fluid is extremely slippery. I don't know if you've ever stepped in hydraulic fluid.
I have not had the pleasure.
Okay. No, and it's not a good thing, and you want to get to that right away, because it is extremely slippery and extremely dangerous to have on your floor, because it is so slippery, and you're in a warehouse and there's heavy equipment there and pallets and all sorts of other obstacles and hazards, and you fall in a warehouse, on a concrete floor or whatever. It can be very, very devastating. And those kind of things are definitely possible to happen, like I said, even in a facility like ours, where we maintain our equipment really well. I mean, the fact that some little hose breaks and you get that hydraulic fluid on the floor, it's catastrophic. So
spills are definitely going to happen. Yes. And it's really only a matter of time of when, and how prepared are you for the spill.
By the way, a lot of these, especially some of the socks, I don't know if you've ever seen it, if you've gone in the grocery stores or even museums, sometimes they use it for just absorption of moisture.
Sure. Like underneath the refrigerators.
Condensation, so that it's not necessarily a spill, but there's like condensation issues, or if there's like trying to absorb moisture, like I said, out of a museum or something where maybe there's a lot of humidity. So they'll use them for those purposes that aren't necessarily based on absorbing spills, but preventative.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of these products, I would say, all of them are pretty much preventative. Like, nobody wants a spill in their hands, but having these when the spill happens, or even, preventing let's just call it a body of water from becoming, slippable. Like, all of these products are definitely, prevention based. By a lot of the time, the customers calling you, I'd say more than 80-90% of them, they didn't do the smartest thing to stock up. They've got a problem on their hands, and now they need it, and they need it today.
Right. Correct.
So when we have our team out there who's fielding these calls and across all of the brands, not just Absorbents for Less, how do they stay cool, calm, and collected under certain pressures, whether it's a spill or there's like been a hurricane or there's a fire, like just emergency response. Like, how do we have our team trained so well to handle these type of requests?
Well, I mean, to be honest, if you in fact have a spill and you don't have these products on hand, I mean, sure, of course, we can overnight them to you, we can get them to you, we can do what is needed to be done. However, going back to sort of our motto and our ethos as a company, trying to be very proactive in saving our clients money, I mean, we highly, maybe I can say it one more time, highly encourage people to be prepared. Going back to my fire extinguisher example, this is not the right time to buy a fire extinguisher when you have a fire, right? So it's really not going to be helpful at all. So the fact that you have these things on hand, that they're ready, like I said, they're not mayonnaise, they won't go bad.
Sure won't.
It's a famous Steve saying from here. That, just having them on hand is certainly the way to go. I mean, from a money perspective, not paying for overnight freight, not from a panic, stricken sort of way, not from whatever kind of, complications can arise from these spills because, like spills don't wait if they're getting into the groundwater or getting into vegetation or they're getting into equipment, where things are getting damaged. So not the right time. So even though we're very capable and willing to certainly, step up and find a way, excuse me, to get people what they need, I will 100% say that the best value proposition, the way we go to market, the way we try to educate our customers, buy early, keep it on hand, and hopefully you never get to use them, and that's just money well spent sitting there waiting for you.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So now, given the people what they've been waiting for, what we have here right now for the viewers, we've got pads, socks, booms. What we don't have are spill kits, but maybe in another episode we can kind of break one open and kind of show you what's in there. But we've got pads, socks, and booms here. We could just go through them one at a time and we'll tell them like what the differences are between them, why anyone would need, different things for different applications, and then why we sell what we sell. So, if you want to take it away and start with what you want to start, or if you want me to start with one of these on top, we can just go round robin style.
Yeah, go ahead, Jake.
Sure.
All right.
So everyone, what we have sitting right on top, this is going to be your universal absorbent sock. This is going to be 3 inches by 4 feet. We sell them in packs of 15 or 40. Now you can kind of see that it kind of looks like a snake. So what do you think that this would be really good for? Drop it in the comments before I tell you in about 2 seconds. Because this is so long and because it's very cylindrical, it's universal. You're going to hear that word a lot as we run through all of these types of pads. Universal is going to be your workhorse. It's going to be absorbing pretty much any type of liquid, water, oil, chemical, acid, base, whatever it is, as long as it is a liquid, this will do a very good job of absorbing it. It won't be the best suited thing for the job, but like we've been saying, if you have this on hand, this is a lot better than having nothing on hand. So with the universal sock specifically, one of the key benefits for this is, as you can see, you can kind of make a little containment field out of this. If you sell them or we sell them in packs of 15 or 40, you can loop a bunch of them together. You can block off a large spill, or like what we were talking about earlier, you can kind of line these up underneath fridges or freezers or any sort of like refrigerated display to capture any of the condensation that's coming off. But these are really awesome because they're very malleable and you can kind of make them into whatever shape that you want to try and to contain whatever it is that has spilled. So this is the universal absorbent sock. What a wonder.
And can we just reiterate, so there is universal and there's oil only. And we're going to go into oil only versus universal because there's a significant reason why you might use universal and definitely a significant reason why you'd want to use oil only.
Absolutely.
So yes, we'll go into that.
So that is the absorbent sock universal. We'll take it away. If you want to go with the universal pad, keep it on the universal theme.
No, I want to go oil only.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So here we have the Z75. So this is an oil only pad. Okay, this is also perfed.
Here, I'll hold it up for you.
Okay, thank you. It's also perfed, which means it's perforated, so you can split it into smaller pieces, so you can.
You can tear it like a paper towel.
Exactly. And so if you see right here, it does say oil only, and the difference between oil only and universal is, in fact, if you had a big puddle of water and you had oil sitting on top of it, you wouldn't necessarily want to absorb all the water, especially if it's maybe in a body of water or something where maybe you couldn't possibly absorb all of the water, and quite frankly, you don't want to. You only want to get the material that's on top of the water. So it's actually really kind of neat function to be able to absorb only oil, not water. And these actually come, so as you can see on here, they're 100 to a case. They're perfed, so you technically can get 200 to a case. And just a great product, really easy to keep on hand, stack away in the corner, and just an amazing, good product, and certainly something I highly recommend buying in bulk.
Absolutely. And to Melissa's credit, what she was talking about with it will sit on top of the water, not absorb the water and absorb just the oil. We have a video showcasing exactly that. You can go click to Absorbents for Less's YouTube channel. You can see the oil-only pad socks booms in action. It's actually very cool to see something sit on top of water, absorb all the oil, and then when you take it out, I mean, it looks very, very clean, but I wouldn't drink it. But it does do a phenomenal job of taking oil out of water.
We should do that next time.
We'll drink a little bit of it. We'll stand behind our products 100%.
Okay.
Moving on, this is a white. There seems to be another theme. That was an oil-only pad, and it was pure white. So this is a oil-only boom. And the difference between a sock and a boom, a sock is primarily used for, not primarily. A sock can be used anywhere. This boom is primarily made for the water. So we have, this one is for display purposes only. So the ones that you will be getting will have hooks. So you have a ring right here. This one just has a piece of rope, but yours will have a metal hook, so that when you lay them end to end, you have a hook that goes with this loop, and then you can loop them around. And now the same that you were doing for the absorbent sock on land, you can do the exact same thing on any body of water, lake, ocean, river, stream, pond, estuary. It doesn't really matter. And that's maybe a lot of people might have been around when the BP oil spill happened. That's when you think, that's a cataclysmic spill that we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You obviously don't want that to happen, but
lots of booms.
Yeah,
lots of booms.
When you have a boat and you take it out on a lake, and maybe you missed filling up your gas can, or somebody did. A lot of marinas, a lot of boat shows, a lot of people. If you have a manufacturing facility close to a river, a body of water, these are going to be your best friend. These go on top of the water. They will not absorb the water. The only thing that they will absorb are any of those oil or fatty liquids. And once it's totally full of that, then you can take it out of the water, and then you can replace it with another one. But this is an oil-only boom, a little bit bigger.
What size do they come in?
So this will be 3 inches. I believe this is by 4 feet. So it should be just the same length as this one. This is a display one, so it'll be about double the size.
I thought those aren't those 15 feet? Did we say
so it's 15 in a box.
Okay,
exactly.
Yes,
so these will be about the same size. This one is just for display. It's 3 inches by 4 feet, and then there'll be 15 in a box. I'm not the best at quick math, but you can get a sense for how many feet, if you had these lined up end to end, how much surface area you could cover with one of these.
Awesome.
All right, moving on over to another pad.
Ooh, okay. All right. So I guess it's my turn over here. Okay. So we're going into, this one's very similar to the other one. Okay. But it's in gray. Okay. And this one is product number is SFG75. The SFG has to deal with the melt-blown polypropylene that this is made out of. Just a little internal information for you guys on what that part number means. And 75 in the spill fighter lingo is heavy duty. So this is going to give you your maximum amount of capacity to absorb. So going to be a little bit more expensive, but if you got a big spill, this is the way to go. And this one you see has the word universal. So this would be something you would use universally, water or oil. It's going to absorb both. So if you have a spill on the ground, and by the way, you definitely use them with the socks, because when you use the sock, it's just going to contain it. And then within the little containment field, you want to put down the pad. So you actually absorb the material, not just trying to contain it. You're trying to actually get rid of it, absorb it into something like that. So super, super popular product right there as well.
This is definitely going to be one of the workhorses. This is going to be able to pick up just about anything You want to keep it rolling with the HAZMAT?
Oh, come on, you can do it, Jake.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
So we've seen 3 colors now. We've got gray, that typically means universal. We've got white, that typically means oil only. And now we have yellow. We do have a yellow pad that is a universal absorbent, but that one has caution printed all over it. Think of it like a very useful wet floor sign because it's actually soaking up the liquid. We've done a video about that one too. Go click to watch that one. But this one specifically, the yellow, is telling you that this is hazardous. This is a HAZMAT pad. This is going to be used to pick up different types of acids, maybe chemical neutralizers, bases, any sort of chemical when you're in a manufacturing plant, or you've got like some really weird like oil, or not oil drums, just like regular drums that might be leaking if you're taking chemicals in and out, if you're like making some sort of lubricant or some sort of like liquid-based adhesive.
And I think a lot of that information would be available on the SDS sheet of whatever product that you have or whatever chemical liquid that's on your property. You know, how to clean it up and whether it's HAZMAT or not, you know, would be listed on that SDS document.
Yeah, and a beautiful thing about Absorbents for Less is that if you don't know what you need, you give us a call, you give us an email, or you go onto the website, and we're going to be able to give you a very clear answer on what you do need. That's what we're the product experts over here. So that is just a little breakdown of some of the things that you might be able to find on Absorbents for Less. What I thought we could do is talk about our spill kits, maybe just very briefly, or we can save it for another time when we actually have a physical one here. Totally up to you.
Wow. Okay. You know, I mean, well, we can touch on what they are.
Sure.
And then we could definitely go into like.
I think that's totally fair.
Yeah. I think like a little teaser on, you know, and like the name says, the name implies it's a spill kit. So it has a lot of these products in it all together. So that way you have a sort of little drum that contains these items. You have smaller ones that you can put in vehicles. You know, I hate to talk about things we don't have something to really showcase. Maybe on the podcast we'll get those little pop-up things, and Mike will be able to.
Oh no,
show.
absolutely. Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, they'll have the things already contained in, as the name says, in a spill kit. So that way you don't have to kind of piecemeal a lot of the stuff together. You can kind of buy them like prefabbed up, ready to rock and roll and deploy to all your different locations.
And I know that we have, just as we were showing you, oil only, universal, hazardous or chemical. All of these spill kits can be for any or all of the above type of spills. We've got different type of spill kits for different type of spills. What I would be very interested in is if anyone in the comments out there wants to tell us what they would find most useful in a spill kit, because since we are the Find a Way company, and a lot of the businesses were, you know, kind of founded or at least completely reshaped by someone asking something of us. If you have a specific, you know, couple of items that you'd like to see in a spill kit that would really help you guys out, or we could make our own Absorbents for Less spill bundle that comes with maybe even some things that people wouldn't really even consider to pair up together for a spill kit, drop it in the comments, let us know, and we would be more than happy to make that a reality.
Awesome, absolutely. And I will say, I don't know if we're done. I'm assuming maybe
we got a couple more.
We're kind of winding down a little bit, but I'm going to throw it out there. Maybe we'll put it on the end too. Now, there are other guys that sell this stuff. There's no question. There's some big guys even out there. Maybe you guys use them. You know, wouldn't doubt it. It's certainly not a field where, you know, we're the only player in town. However, you know, if you're using one of those other guys or that big guy in particular, I will say, you know, we're looking at 30 to 40% less expensive for the same thing. So it's definitely worth giving us a look. It's definitely worth giving us a little chat or email or just a phone call or any kind of comment on that. Happy to quote you. I mean, it is just like putting money in your pocket. I mean, saving that money on something that's exactly the same. You know, that's going to cost you 30, 40, maybe even 50% less.
Yeah.
So highly encourage you to price shop and choose Absorbents for Less. It really is a huge savings.
Yeah. We're like halfway through with the questions, so I just had a couple more about maybe we talked a little bit about the product, we talked a little bit about what Absorbents for Less is, and now maybe I want to talk a little bit about the customers that we serve, and then maybe even some people out there that are seeing this like, like I've never even thought that I might need, or, you know, my business might need absorbents, because the people who do purchase these, that's kind of like their responsibility to keep a warehouse safe or to keep a manufacturing plant safe. But for some of the business owners out there, small businesses, medium businesses, however it may be, maybe they've not even like thought about like, what if something did go wrong? Maybe they haven't even, you know, been made aware of like, these are the products that they need. So what I want to know is like, who are the people that are actively, shopping around at Absorbents for Less? What kind of businesses and job titles order absorbents? And then what's usually going on in their world when they reach out?
Wow. Okay, that's another great question, Jake. I mean, for the most part, some of the really large users of these products, have been, with us and the other guys out there that sell these products. You're going to look at oil refineries, obviously, makes sense. Marine companies or, cruise lines, any kind of trucking companies where you have lots of vehicles. There's really if you think about it, anytime there's any kind of machinery, large manufacturing plants where they have a lot of hydraulic fluid, a lot of these big machines and packaging plants and manufacturing companies, a lot of the equipment runs on hydraulics so that they have a lot of these things just to prevent any kind of spill. As I said, like the hydraulic fluid is, it's super, super slippery. It's crazy. Those have been like the most popular or the most types of businesses I've seen personally come through. Have you done a little looking into like our customer base to see anybody interesting that
for Absorbents for Less, with all of the different customer bases that we have, I haven't been able to dig too deep into Absorbents for Less. But I know that there's another common thread that I was kind of getting at with this question is that a lot of not a lot, most of our businesses are very, what is like the right word? We solve a problem that may or may not even be mandated by some sort of agency, whether it's OSHA or the EPA or some sort of bureaucratic organization where, with traffic cones, there's like FDOT or like the Department of Transportation has rules for what you can put where. For Hydration Depot, there's OSHA where they have, specific guidelines on how much that they have to drink when they're outside and exposed to heat. And then we might have EPA for, some sort of absorbent products when it's relating to the environment, like leaking outside of their facility. What I wanted to know is how much of the buying that's going on for absorbents and maybe even the companies as a whole is out of compliance, where they're like, hey, I'm just checking my box, I got to do this, versus what we would love is a customer choosing to get ahead of the problem.
Well, I will say, in this product, in all of these products, if you really do wait till the very, very end, or you wait till you have, an issue, that's not very compliant. So that's when you get in trouble with OSHA and EPA is because it's not like things aren't going to happen. Being prepared, is, what is the OSHA compliance or the EPA compliance part, and obviously not being negligent and maybe doing something you totally shouldn't be doing, and that's why you had the issue. Right. But if it is just, some kind of malfunction or something that, just human error that's, not preventable. Having the proper equipment around, it's important. It's like making sure you have gas in your car, right? You kind of know that if you don't have gas in your car, that your car is not going to go. Right. So maybe not exactly the same, but, I do like my good old fire extinguisher one again, because, maybe you never get to use it, which would be perfect, but by golly, if you ever needed a fire extinguisher because you had a fire, you're really, really glad, that you had it. And think about the trauma and the time and the merchandise and the facilities you save just by being prepared. So this is a little bit different because this is really something is going to happen. A fire may or may not happen, but there's always going to be some kind of leak. But even if it's water, somebody spilled, water, or you're in a supermarket, somebody dropped something on the floor, or like I said, they have condensation issues. These are things that go on all the time. So this isn't like, a fire, which, hopefully God, never has to happen to anybody, but it's so important. And yes, and it is a compliance thing, but you'd hope that people aren't waiting around to just get dinged for being non-compliant.
You hear that, everyone?
That's no way to be.
No, absolutely.
That's just a recipe for disaster. Yeah.
So be proactive. Give us a call.
Yeah.
Another one of the common threads between Absorbents for Less and all of the businesses is a general sense of partnership. From manufacturers and other places where we source a lot of our products from. JBC is probably one of the biggest ones, with Traffic Cones for Less going way back. We have tons of brands on Hydration Depot. Obviously, the partnership with SD2K, Amir, and OES Global here. All of the products are, maybe most of the products that we sell on Absorbents for Less are our partners at Spill Fighter. Maybe you can talk a little bit about why that was the right fit, and then how our products, like you already touched on it a little bit in terms of just pure cost savings, but the products themselves are phenomenal. And if you haven't seen them in action, you can go to the channel and watch all these products. They do exactly what they say they would do. So yeah, just a little bit about the partnership.
Well, I mean, so the company really, Fighter Tech and their brand, Spill Fighter, we align with them because they share like our values as far as being able to offer value, which is price and quality of products. So to be able to offer that to our clients and be able to partner directly, with this manufacturer to be able to be their sort of distribution arm for selling these products, basically wholesale direct. That is really our model through all of our companies, and that master distribution agreement, and focusing on educating folks on the value of buying, in bulk, and saving that money on freight. I mean, it's really it's a perfect collaboration because this is their ethos for their company, and providing like great products at an affordable price, and which definitely spills down to the way we like to do business, and the value we placed on offering really great pricing and a really great value to our customers.
I would say that you're not born into this world with a lot of absorbent knowledge. You kind of pick that up as you get a little older. So say someone who's maybe seeing this, or maybe just stumbles onto the site. They've never really been exposed to absorbents before, but they maybe they're thinking about, oh, what if this breaks? Or maybe they've even had a minor spill, and now they're like, oh, like I definitely want to be prepared. So if someone genuinely has no idea where to start, and then they give us a call and they're like, hey, here's my business. Here's like, what would we like? What's the game plan for this person? So someone calls in and they say, I don't know where to start. What are we going to do for them?
That's a really great question too, and this is one of the reasons why we have a U.S. based, and not even U.S. based, because it makes it sound like we have some call center somewhere that we're just hiring folks to answer the phone in some call center. Like we are not that company. We have our own staff in our own facility, no call center, no outsourcing to anybody. We have a staff of people that are find a way companies, so they're going to find the answers, whether they're experts or not. We have lots of resources for them here. We have products and samples, and we test them, and we use them. We really educate our team on that. But if you called in and asked that question, we're going to do a little digging. We're going to try to find out the size of your facility, type of equipment. If we don't know, we're actually going to even partner with the manufacturer, because we want to get like very specific, maybe to some kind of hazardous question that you have, and we certainly don't want to give you misinformation. So at that point, we're almost like an extended arm of your business.
Absolutely.
As a safety director or safety manager, and that's looking to get answers from somebody that's going to give you like real guidance. That's going to be either through the team that we have here on site, or going even deeper and asking the manufacturer and finding out like from the source, what's the best option for you. So yeah, we're definitely a company that'll go above and beyond and do that. No question.
Not a lot of people out there saying that, making those claims. I think to close, a really interesting one, because even during this conversation, you mentioned one of the things where, you hear absorbent, you hear it's oil only or universal, and you kind of picture like, oh, a spill of this or a spill of that. But you already, got my gears turning on, condensation underneath freezers, and, all of the different ways where there could actually be a spill. So what I wanted to know is, do you start to notice all these little types of spills now? Like how maybe back in the day you were noticing all of these different traffic cones and how everything was. And like, is that something that you've identified in your like day-to-day life? You're just, now you can't stop seeing like chances for spills, essentially.
Well, I will say, thankfully, absorbent spill mitigation issues are not as in your face as traffic cones. For whatever reason, for all you folks out there, the traffic cones, and I say this to everybody when we hire them, and they don't really believe me at first. I'm like, they are everywhere. You just never notice. They're on TV commercials. They're in movies. They're arbitrarily in the street somewhere. They're, just in like a parking lot all by themselves. They're on the road. They're on the roof. People wearing them on their heads. Like there's all sorts of just strange things that go on with traffic cones. So that is really out there in the world. The absorbent stuff, I will say, is a much more moderate application. I don't see it anywhere near as much. And in particular, the folks that would really be best served by purchasing our products would be people that are really in these large facilities that are in their manufacturing, like I said, oil refineries. And Jake, it might be a surprise to you, but I don't actually hang out in a lot of those places. So I don't see them, but I know they're there. And by the way, in my much younger years, I cold called all of them. I've been to some scary places and like these, cargo ships that were going to the islands with some real crusty, piratey sailors that could have easily taken me away as some kind of hostage, and I never would have been seen again. So I'm a little fearless with that, but that's been a little while. So to answer your question, yes and no.
Yes and no. I think that's totally fair. Okay. Now, an even deeper one.
Yes.
Absorbents for less. If they could clean up any spill in the world, literal or figurative, what would that spill be?
You mean like in my perfect world?
In your perfect world, what would Absorbents for less clean up? If it's a real spill or if it's something like rhetorical?
Well, I don't, you'd hope that there's really no spills. I mean, but it's kind of unrealistic. It's like, I'll go back to my fire extinguishers again, right? Like you're hoping there's no fires, because that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
So this is more about preparation. Wow, I don't know. That's such an interesting question. I will say I really do really enjoy some good Kentucky Fried Chicken original recipe.
There you go.
And like, there's a lot of oil involved in that. And somehow if I had to be involved in that, I don't know, that would be very interesting. Probably not great for my diet or probably my arteries. But
you gotta
boy,
live though.
But boy, it would be delicious. I would be happy to be there.
I think that I'm very close in the same vein. That the thing that I hate the most that I wish could just be solved without even happening is when you cook and you need to cook at home. Restaurants have $50,000 ranges and they have the hoods and all of this stuff so that when cleaning, it's like very simple. But if you try and pan sear or deep fry anything on your stove at home, especially if you have the glass top stove where it's not real gas, it just gets completely disgusting. You're using tons of degreaser. No, you gotta
use one of those screens.
But that's the thing is that if you're putting the screen up and then you have to take the screen off and you gotta flip it, and then when you take it off to flip whatever you're cooking, it still goes everywhere.
Maybe that's something you need to invent, like a thing you can get in there and flip without taking it off. There you go. Okay.
If I could pick anything to fix, Absorbents for less would just cover my whole cooktop in some product that would last for 30 days, and then when I'm done, I just throw it away and replace it. That's my thing for Absorbents for less. Really with little cutouts where the heat source is, and then it would be okay to actually get a little hot, and I wouldn't get the fumes of like some weird chemical, but that would be mine. Wow. So
there you go. All right,
whoever out there wants to take that and make it a reality, I would happily pay maybe $30 a month for 5 pads or whatever that would be.
How much do you cook at home? You cook
I cook every week. I cook every Sunday.
Meal prepping? Is that what it is?
Meal prepping, so I don't have to cook lunches or dinner. So I spend maybe 2 hours cooking 2, 4, 6, 10 or 12 meals. And
hey, listen, we still need to have our paella cook-off.
I have my saffron. I've got my rice. I just am waiting on the pan because I told my parents that who have one that they're coming down next weekend, and if they bring it, maybe they'll leave it here with me.
Ooh, yeah. Well, we'll have you guys, see our paella.
And we'll definitely have Michael do an entire paella video for you. And then we'll have the people in here take a bite. We'll see like whose paella is the best. We'll have like a little friendly competition.
We'll do it blind.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
You can't have anyone.
But anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in. This was Absorbents for Less. So if this was your first time watching, or you've watched all of them up to this point, we are having a congratulatory send-off. Now you have been made aware of OES Global and the main 4 brands that we own and operate here day to day. So from here on out, we're going to be talking about anything that we want to, essentially. We have obviously the 4 main brands in OES Global. Maybe sometimes it'll be about a specific product or a problem that we're trying to figure out in one specific avenue, or it could just be about what we're doing here or about the OES Global as a whole. So now that
I want to put a couple of little spicy little things out there. So we're going to be adding on. So it's going to be perfect at what you're saying, because we do an awful lot of work with data centers and all these data center construction projects all over the country. And so in response to some of this, we're going to be doing truckloads of parking blocks and truckloads of U-channel signs and custom signage to go along with all the other construction related things. So this isn't a judgment on whether you want data centers or not in your neighborhood. That's for
Absolutely not.
That's for different folks. You know, we're just here.
Not that type of podcast.
Yeah, exactly. We're not talking the pros and cons of data
Right.
centers, but you know, coming up with products and solutions that once again serve the clients that we have, be able to pass along savings by offering things in volume and creating products that actually aren't really available on the internet or through other you know, vendors or other companies that really speak to these people that want to buy things in volume rather than these onesie twosies that everything else is offered. So be prepared for that. We'll have a whole bunch of those things coming on.
Yes, we've got lots of fun stuff to talk about, and now that we've given the intro to everyone, we're going to expect that you know what we're talking about when we reference a brand. And if not, Michael, our amazing editor, is going to be linking the intro videos on the timestamps of these videos. So if someone is watching and we reference traffic cones for less, even though this is under the OES Global channel, a little bubble will pop up here. They can go click that. They can go watch what traffic cones for less is, and now they're caught up to date pretty much.
I just want to let you know, we put the smoking lady on today. So she's actually smoking over there. I had a comment. They didn't know what she was. I said she actually smokes.
She actually does.
And we're going to do a little thing about some of the funky art and the talented people that work here and their particular artistic and creative skills, because we have a great group of people here. We do a lot of fun stuff here, including having paella cook-offs and creating like really cool, which we won't get into, like this cone sitting behind me.
If you've been noticing that cone, don't worry. We're doing a deep dive on it.
And a couple of stuff going on back here, so we won't be talking about that quite yet, but just keep your eye out. We've got some cool things coming.
What I will ask you to do is hit the subscribe button, click the bell in the top right so that you can be notified every single time we post a video, because who doesn't want to know about this beautiful cone that we have over here first? So anyway, thank you all for watching. This was episode 105 of the OES Global Podcast. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we will see you all next week.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.